Can we use AI to win our custody case if we're a father fighting in a court system that is usually not favorable to us? Now, the easy answer to this is yes, we can. But the real question we should be asking is, how do we use AI to win our cases? And the good news is that in this video, that's what we're gonna cover. A simple, easy to follow guide on how to use AI for family law. Whether you're using ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Qwen, Claude, Grok, this video is gonna get you started to save money so that you can win your case. There's a downloadable PDF and a guide that is attached to this. There's also the prompts that we use in this. And if you're watching this and some of these have been outdated, make sure you check out the playlist for AI and family law. We made this video so that dads could win their cases, but not just that, save money, protect themselves from narcissistic attacks, abuse, parental alienation, false allegations, kidnappings in other countries. So look, if you're a dad and you're hopeless about your custody case, you're lost, you want to learn how to protect yourself, how to win custody of your kids, you can. This tool you got to use. So let's get started and press play. So if you type into ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Grok, any one of them, I want you to act as a high-powered legal expert and advise me on a family law case. I'm going to tell you right now, this is probably not enough. And we're making the same mistakes everybody makes when they're using AI for family law, because there's a lot more you have to do. Now, I actually get back in this that it's too vague and it assumes AI is qualified, puts you in a passive position. This assuredly is because this is on my personal ChatGPT account where I went through the scripts for this. So let me go to Claude and do the same thing. So as we're waiting for that, what I want to tell you is this is good. It's great to use AI. It's going to be one of your best friends for family law, but we need to learn to use it right. So especially in family law, if it's good or good enough, that's just not good enough. AI a lot of times can take you down a rabbit hole. You can go in all sorts of different directions. You might even get to a point where you get overly confident in the complete wrong direction, because it's empowering to have all this information and finally understand it. So those are the good things, but we need to learn how to properly use the good things. So Claude gives me an answer back basically saying that it's going to do its best to understand family law and all that sort of good stuff. So basically what I want to show you in this video is how to prompt engineer, but we're going to do it conversationally. So we're going to take an LLM, in this case ChatGPT, and we're going to teach it to act like an expert so that we can win our case. And I'm just going to tell you, if you don't learn how to really work with an LLM, you're missing out on its capabilities. And when it comes to your family, when it comes to your kids, man, that is not good enough. So the first problem is that a client of mine has a hearing tomorrow. He's going in pro se. His ex, or soon-to-be ex, didn't expect him to file and produce a bunch of different evidence. And so he wrote in our group chat, basically, I submitted all the evidence and now they know I'm prepared for court tomorrow. And so I wrote in there, I said, hey man, you got to be careful, because now their attorney's going to start communicating with you. And once that happens, you need to understand that opposing counsel's attorney is a super credible witness, and it matters a lot. When you get to family law, there's kind of different levels of witnesses, like your friends and family, not so much. Other attorneys, definitely. And when you're going in pro se, they can talk directly to you. So he writes back and says something to the fact of like, yeah, man, I'm using ChatGPT to help me out in this. So what I told him was, hey man, I'm going to make a video to help you out in this. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is how people use AI. So obviously, if you're using AI to role play, that's like you're going to be an expert legal assistant and know all of Texas code or wherever you're at family law. You're giving it a role to play and work with you. That's awesome. You should totally be doing it. But you need to understand how to prompt correctly. You need to understand that you can't just be basic and expect it to be good forever. There's a process to this, and when you work that process, you get amazing things to happen, and especially for pro se. And to start out, we need specific, clear, and interactive prompts so that we can work with the AI and get as far as we can with it. So let's get into this setup here. Before you start, or maybe you're halfway in it, you could still dive in this. We want to start looking at the LLM feed, and that should be the thing on the left-hand side here. Let me show you where Claude is. It's less populated. Now here we could start setting up new chats like Texas Family Code. And it helps if we spell it right, but you're gonna notice I spell a lot of stuff wrong, but it's okay because it's smart. I also think it's important to have stuff like lawyer questions. So we're gonna put that one in there. And this could be everything. It could be how to find a lawyer, what questions to ask your lawyer, how to workshop different questions for your lawyer. And of course, there could be multiple of these. This one here is going to be pretty important. So we're going to do county specific laws. We'll do family law. Okay, let's start another one and we'll do behavior patterns. Okay, we got that one in and it's populating, and then we'll do my baggage. Okay, so let's go into why I'm doing this. Why would I populate those things and organize it? And the main thing is those are gonna be like 3, 4, 5, 6, however many separate thoughts or even brains that your AI is gonna have. Now, if you're using ChatGPT, you could use custom GPTs, and also you could do different projects that you could populate things in. But just know each thread is going to have somewhat of its own memory. You can reference things back and forth. And again, if you're using ChatGPT Plus, it carries a memory, and it's actually really convenient in a lot of things if you're not worried about the privacy components in that. Legal cases are crazy and go all over the place, and there's going to be new ideas that come up that are going to need to be asked about in the Texas Family Code or reference it. There's also going to be things where you need to bounce things off a lawyer or questions to ask your lawyer. So you want to have places for that to go, and pretty immediate and easy to access. If you want to get really particular about it, you would open up an account specific for your legal case, and then everything in that feed is just going to be dedicated to your case. Now, a few more things before we dive deep into this prompting. So everything needs to be reviewed by you. You are 100% responsible for this. You have a really smart friend that is going to make mistakes. They're awesome, but every single thing in this, you need to rework. When we get this prompt down, maybe at the end of a big day where we go through a lot of information, we should rework that prompt. Any information it gives you, you should double check, triple check. And I know that sounds hard, but when you can realize you have this huge wealth of information, this assistant and collaborator that you can work with, man, you can do so much with it. You just gotta up your game with the double checking and all that sort of good stuff. And it's your case, man. You have to be responsible for it. You know, in my groups and communities where we work with this all day long and every day, I'm gonna tell you this, the guys in my groups find huge and massive value in us working in a hive mind and interacting with each other because it's just more people. Now, when you do have a hive mind and a lot of people working at once on something, they're gonna get things wrong. You have to be responsible for it. So with that hive mind, we have to up the game. When you add AI into it, man, it becomes amazing, but you do have to up your game with checking everything because you're responsible for it. This is a part of the practice of all AI work. Okay, and the last thing I want to give you here is just a pro tip. AI is a collaborator. It's not just a tool. See, a tool can get things wrong, it can fail, and when a tool doesn't work or it breaks, you write a bad review on it, you throw it away, you swear it off forever, you get mad at it. But when you realize something's a collaborator, an assistant that you can work with and really work with well, there's no point in throwing it away. But there's only a point in learning how to work with it more. And it's just gonna go and go and go. Right now, as I'm recording this is the worst it's going to be. That means tomorrow or 2 weeks or whatever, when I put this video out, all these LLM platforms are going to be better and better to serve you. All right, let's go to the live demo setup of all of this. And just for the record, I do have a prompt guide down below. That prompt guide is going to be awesome as a companion to this video. It's going to help you get started with everything just off on the right foot. But it also comes with a 30-lesson high conflict custody course that's free. It's awesome, and it's video. It's shot really well, and it's going to be better than pretty much any other paid product out there with the exception of mine. And I'll actually tell you this, my paid products come with a group and a community, and that beats everything. Anyway, all the information for that is down below. It's free. You should definitely get in on it. Okay, let's start here, and I am going to go with ChatGPT, and I'm just gonna type in kind of what everybody types in, and we're just gonna work off of this, but we're gonna show you how to make it better. I need you to act as an expert in Arizona family law. I have a hearing coming up. I am pro se, understand my case as much as possible. So we're gonna put that in, and of course, you know, it's gonna agree with us and all that sort of good stuff. So we want this to really level up because we want it to know our case as much as possible. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask it to interview me. So this is kind of step one. We need to use AI to help with our AI experience, and it's gonna be really awesome. So we're gonna say, okay, I have a high conflict custody case, many false allegations, and I would like you to ask me some questions to know more about my case. All right, we're gonna send that in, and then one thing I actually forgot to say is ask one at a time. So now it's gonna ask me a ton and overload me, but it's always better to just tell it to go one at a time. And as you can see, this is just a ton of stuff. Now, if you already have a parenting plan, I have a video on how to load that in, and I would recommend anything you put in legal into any LLM is take out your name, your ex's name, the kids' names. I would take out all the addresses and all the case numbers. Now, there's a couple reasons for that, because you want to be able to build a team of real people to help you, not just the AI. And then it's just so much easier to share and get good feedback, and people could run your case through their AI, and they might build custom GPTs and they run it through that. And then also certain LLMs do not like too much specific information. So it might get caught up in saying, we can't talk about this, or this sounds more like legal advice. It just helps bypass that, and it helps you keep your information out from there. Okay, so here it gives a ton of different questions. And if you're doing this, if you're working this, I want you to answer as much as possible, and I would ask it in the initial prompt to ask one question at a time. It just makes it easier. Maybe I prefer that because it's more of a conversation with it, and we are trying to build this as a collaborator. Now remember, when we went through the feed, we also put in behavioral patterns. So I'm gonna type in here, I believe my ex has a personality disorder, and I would like to have you take into consideration that pattern and how to help strategize my case. Can you ask me a few questions that might help find a pattern in their behavior if they have NPD or BPD. That's narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. And here we won't forget it. Please ask one question at a time. Okay, so it gives me the typical ChatGPT yes man stuff. Of course, great idea. So we have like the first question here, when your ex first made serious accusations against you, abuse, neglect, how sudden? Was it out of nowhere, or did it have small warnings? Was it right after something you did, new relationship, new job, asking for more custody? Take your time, details matter. And so then we'd fill that out, and it would give us another question. Now the next thing that should be in our feed is organizing and sorting evidence. Hey, can you help me know what evidence I might need to disprove false abuse accusations, as well as get, let's say, 50-50 custody in Arizona. Now, in this, there's actually a couple mistakes, because one thing that I encourage you guys is to not just go for the state code in custody. You need to know the county as well. And there's gonna be differences. It's just one of those things that a lot of guys overlook, and make sure and do that. So it gives me a list of these things. Now, this is really generalized, but I wanted to know about my case. So if I did have like, a temporary protective order, or there were false accusations being made, I want to actually be specific about that. So I'm going to write in, can you ask me a series of questions, one at a time, to ask my and of says I use her all and also says kids are with adverse, but yes, ask the question and is some good on this is kind of a loaded prompt. It's probably too much, but ADHD brain. If you know, you know. And this will happen as you talk to any LLM. You're going to get other ideas as it goes, but you do want to stay on track. However, these are very, very important. And actually, this is super cool. Like, look at this. This is the plus version of ChatGPT. It's worth the $20. Like, seriously, man. Like, look at this. It puts in here, after 3 or 4 questions, I'll drop you a very clear explanation of Arizona's recording laws and what counts as stalking and harassment. So it actually wants to find out some more information, and more than likely get me started on this so I don't get too ADHD and all over the place, and can stay on track. This is great. Now, of course, if this is your situation and you weren't trying to make a under 20-minute video, you're gonna go through all these questions and you wanna follow it all. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, and also here, we wanna do that distinguishing point of local court rules. Can you let me know about local court rules? For instance, I am in Tucson, and what is different in family law here that might than AZ state family code? Whoa, that sun's coming out. Hold on. When you have lots of white rocks around, you can't do auto ISO. Okay, so let's now fire this through. So we do want to find those differences, and we want it to know about it. So it gives me the typical ChatGPT yes man stuff. Yeah, you're high level now. Okay, so it starts breaking that down for me, and this is good to keep in line. Now, with all of this stuff, like I said, you want to double check it. So I would go through and look it up in Google, or another way to double check is to use a different ChatGPT window, or Claude, or Grok, or DeepSeek, and double check with all of it. So you can use another LLM or the same LLM to double check its own work. So now we have to do something that I talk about a lot in everything that we go through in custody, high conflict battles is we have to bring it back to a focus. So I'm just gonna go off script here for a little bit, is that when we're in this situation, we're stressed out, we're not thinking straight, we're all over the place. You know, we can go through revenge, anger, all these different things. The mental game in a high conflict custody battle is by default in a state of chaos. Like, I don't care how much of a badass you are, just understand you're not going to be at 100% mental capacity. That's not because you're weak or anything like that. But once a day, every day, and maybe multiple times a day, we have to get really good at bringing it back to focus. We have to. So here, what we want to do is we want to take all this information and all the big ideas that we got from answering the questions, all the cathartic feeling, all that different sort of stuff, and we need to go, okay, what does this all mean? And so now what I want to do is I want to construct my prompt. Now, just so you know, for the sake of less than 20-minute video or something like that, I didn't fill out all these questions, but for many, many things I have. So I'm gonna write in here, judging from everything we have gone over, can you construct a prompt to be my legal assistant in this case? Also, I will want ones specific for my chats on behavioral patterns, Pima County law, Arizona family code, general courtroom etiquette, and evidence. But let's start with the general legal assistant. Okay, and we're gonna send that through and see what we get back. And again, I didn't really fill anything out, but this is gonna be good for it because it will get me a starting place to work from. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, most guys in my groups, and we have about 50 guys in my group right now working high conflict custody cases at any given moment. We win impossible cases over and over again. It's an awesome, awesome community, but I'm gonna tell you that most guys will say that they use this in tandem with their attorneys and they have the best results. Now, as you probably know, attorneys are expensive, they can rip you off, they can suck, they can be horrible. We can use this to help us find the right attorney. But the reality of it is a lot of guys do run out of money and they have to go in pro se, or they just want to start out that way. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the courts, pro se will eat you alive. This will help, but you just got to prepare for it in all these other ways and watch some of my other videos on that. In fact, if you haven't downloaded the 30 free lessons, we go into that there. You definitely need that. It's free. It will help you. So when guys do have to go in pro se, they use this like crazy and they do pretty well. And like I said, those are guys that have a lot of courtroom experience. But here, as we could see, we actually have a prompt that isn't just saying you're an awesome legal expert. It goes into specifics. And as you go through this, you're gonna get even more specific. And then every week, or if you go through a day where there's a ton of different evidence, you wanna put this prompt back into your LLM and say, hey, can we rewrite this based on what we worked today? Or if you go through a different chat that's in a separate thread or something like that, you could say, give me a summary so I can rewrite a prompt that already exists for ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever. Or you could fit this in and say, with what we worked, could you make any changes to this prompt to make it more intelligent? And actually here, this is really important. It says why this is powerful, and this is really good. So it forces the AI to stay practical. It forces it to stay in alignment with you. Man, it looks at so many different things. It keeps it in Pima County if we're in that area of Arizona. You can use it to its maximum capability. And of course, knowing that, yeah, it's gonna make mistakes. It's not perfect. There's some things that it may not have the information for because it's pulling from the internet or blog articles, well, you know, everything on the internet. And some cases aren't publicly available. How people talk in court could just be recommendations from a website rather than real life examples. So as we have our prompt and we're going through all this information and recycling it, it's really important that we come back to that mental game side of things. We learn to go through a process on a daily basis to bring us back to focus. Now, like I said, I want you guys to win. And if you know my story, I've lost massively. I lost my kids for a long time and then came back to win like an impossible thing. And now I train thousands of guys to do that. So I made this video here for you to keep your mental game sharp so you can keep your legal game sharp. Be sure and watch all of it. And if you've already watched that video and you're like, man, this is awesome, make sure you're on those 30 lessons that I talked about earlier. They're down below. All right, stay strong, stay alive, because you're a dad and your kids need you. I gotta take a call.